The gold of the Anunnaki. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is New Cosmic Knowledge. Nice to have you all here. It's always an honor and a privilege to have you joining us here on this channel. And I am ready to talk to you about something I don't talk about a whole lot, but here we go, the Anunnaki. There's a lot of speculation about the Anunnaki. There's a lot of discussion about the Anunnaki. There's a lot of division about the Anunnaki. There's a lot of arguments about the Anunnaki. But one thing that is almost universally believed about the Anunnaki is that they were here on planet Earth, and maybe they still are, but they were here after gold. Now, in the research that I've done, I've read the Sitchin material. Oops, sorry about that. I've read the Sitchin material. I've read some of the Tellinger material. And I've read what I think is one of the best books on it, Reign of the Anunnaki. And just to give you a great synopsis about the gold idea, most of the experts say that, including Sitchin, who claims that they were digging for gold, the Anunnaki were, so they could spread gold dust in the atmosphere of their own planet to reduce the escape of heat, rather like a thermos bottle effect. Of course, many of you know about the teachings that Nibiru has a great big huge long orbit. It spends a lot of time away from the sun, so they were trying to put gold in the atmosphere so it would retain heat. Sitchin also suggested that gold was an elixir that extended the life of the gods or of the Anunnaki, and it didn't have the same value as it does to us as humans. It was certainly something that was valuable to them if it could extend their life, and it became valuable because of the demands of the Anunnaki. They say that's why gold became valuable on Earth. Tellinger, in his book, The Slave Species of the Gods, also says that the main interest of the Anunnaki was to take precious metals, especially gold, from our planet. So a lot of people claim that there's gold in the eyes of the Anunnaki. Tellinger claims that many of the ruins in South Africa were settlements of the Anunnaki where gold was mined. I got it interesting, and it's funny because no one knew I was going to do this video, and I got a very interesting email, not an email, but a comment on my YouTube channel. Let me find that, and I'll give credit to the person because understandably, or unusually for me, I didn't delete the comment. It's a little joke. Heather Lobeck says that to understand the resources that come from mountains such as gold helps to understand that the rocks were alive and human at one point. When someone's searching for gold, they find gold in what is called veins, and you see how the rocks or mountains look after they are mined, and it actually, from the air, looks like veins. Heather says that there was a plan when all this began, and that plan is the circle of life when you truly break it down. Our decomposition after death is actually meant to help the earth live and help bugs and things of that nature. So very interesting that she points out that the veins of gold in mountains look like the veins within our body, and speculates that the veins indicate that possibly the mountains could have or could be living beings. I had Deborah L. Smith on the program, on the channel a while back, and she showed us the great pictures and took us through the great teachings of those beings looking like they're giants that have, that are fallen. Very interesting stuff. So were there big beings here that had gold in their veins? Were the Anunnaki after those beings? Are the Anunnaki after us? And I didn't pull this up, I should have. There's actually scientific research that human beings create gold. Our bodies create gold. And specifically, our hair creates gold. Each strand of human hair contains up to 14 elements, including gold, ladies and gentlemen. Scientists, look at this headline. This is very interesting. Scientists synthesize gold nanoparticles inside human hair. Hair without treatment at 1 day, and then at 16 days. So you can see the gold in human hair. So humans do have gold in their hair. There were beings here that had gold in their bodies. And what about this, ladies and gentlemen? If you remember some of the legends, and we know that these legends, there's reasons for these legends, ladies and gentlemen. Do you remember the legend of Rapunzel? Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your golden hair. Her hair was so long that her boyfriend or erstwhile lover was able to take her hair and climb up and rescue her. You think about the story of Rumpelstiltskin. Who was spinning, and they were spinning straw into gold, right? How many times have we heard about people and hair being compared to Rumpelstiltskin? Hair being compared to straw, Rumpelstiltskin. Oh, I remember that guy from the Ever After, or whatever that TV show was called that I used to watch. Rumpelstiltskin. And of course, the lady was locked away, spinning gold into straw. Was she really spinning her hair into gold and not straw into gold? Why am I talking about this? Because it's clear that the human body produces gold. Most people think it's clear that the Anunnaki were after gold. Most people, or a lot of people, are seeing that the mountains could have been beings, living beings at some point. And if there's veins of gold in their dead bodies, surely there were veins of gold in their living bodies. So my question is, are we and other beings the gold that the Anunnaki were after? Well, Jeff, it's easier to just dig it out of the ground, but what if it's a different kind of gold that comes out of beings? And what if it's not even gold at all? Let me share with you what I mean. Not only do we know that the Anunnaki were after gold, we also know that the Anunnaki were genetic experimentors. They were trying to change beings, create beings. The lore is, and the belief is in most of the community, that the Anunnaki were trying to create beings. And they kept messing up. You got one that couldn't walk. You got one that couldn't talk. You got one that couldn't see. You got one that had 4 legs, one that had 8 legs. They had all of these mistakes. And that's always bothered me. They're supposed to be gods. They're supposed to be advanced beings. If you look at the Elohim in the book of Genesis, they got it right the first time. Even Yahweh got it right the first time. He couldn't animate his body until he conned some spirits into it, but he got the bodybuilding part perfect the first time. Were the Anunnaki just poor scientists? Were the Anunnaki just poor geneticists? Were the Anunnaki just really bad at making people, or were they trying to do something else? What if they weren't trying to create a race at all? What if that's just lore? What if they weren't trying to create beings at all? What if that's just part of the mythos? What if the Anunnaki were actually trying to tamper with the DNA to make it produce more gold? And think about it, when you get a DNA test or you get a test for drugs and whatnot, what do they want? They want your hair. Why? Because it shows the most and stays the longest. Now, if you had a choice of whether to dig gold out of the ground, if it's assuming that you're after just gold, if you had a choice of whether you're going to dig gold out of the ground, a lot of work, Or if you're going to make people dig it for you, that's a lot of work managing people you're making dig. Or what if you could just cut the hair off of a being and get gold? What if you could just kill them and bleed them out and get gold? Wouldn't that be a much simpler, a much easier process? Did the Anunnaki come here to create us, or were they, or are they attempting to crack our DNA code to get at something else? Are they trying to get at gold? Or are they trying to get at something more precious than gold? Paul, the false apostle, uses that terminology often in his writings. More precious than gold. What is it, ladies and gentlemen, that could be more precious than gold to the Anunnaki? And what is it that could extend the lifespan of the Anunnaki? What is it that the descendants of the Anunnaki, if you believe it's the royal families, if you believe it's the Illuminatis, what are they harvesting in an attempt at life extension? I can hear your wheels beginning to turn. I can see the light bulbs beginning to go off above your heads like in a cartoon. Because if they were trying to create beings, they weren't very good at it. But what if they weren't trying to create beings at all? What if they were trying to create Rapunzel's 2.0? Rumpelstiltskin girl spinning gold 2.0. Big mountain creatures 2.0. Humans 2.0. With more gold, ladies and gentlemen. With more gold. And that's assuming that they just wanted the gold that we're thinking about, the metal gold. But what if they were after something even more valuable than material gold? And what if, as the evidence seems to suggest, that they could only get that through humans? And specifically, through the destruction of humans? What if the gold that extended their life was a substance within the blood of humans? What if the gold within the blood of humans was adrenochrome? Solomon, who's supposedly the most wisest man that ever lived, said there's nothing new under the sun. What if this whole line of human sacrifice, what if this whole line of infant sacrifice that I've shown you goes all the way back to the story of Cain and Abel within the book of Genesis, all the way back to the story of Job within the book of Genesis? What if the Anunnaki were another set of gods looking for gold, looking for life extension, looking for blood, looking for adrenochrome? At least one of the Elohim named Yahweh, or a being that claimed that he was Yahweh, that claimed he was, looked like he was part of the Elohim, was doing it. There's nothing new under the sun, ladies and gentlemen. And if the Bible itself, and if you look over just past my left shoulder, there's a Bible. And if the Bible's encoded with truths within lies and lies within truths, then why wouldn't the Babylonian, Sumerian, Akkadian texts also be encoded with lies within truth, with truth within lies? And isn't it at least possible that the Anunnaki being after gold, quote unquote, is a metaphor? The Anunnaki being after gold, quote unquote, is an analogy? Maybe the gold that the Anunnaki were after was not the gold that comes out of the ground, unless that ground was great beings, which are now fallen beings, which have become mountains and valleys, and their bones laying about. What if there weren't enough of those beings? And what if the gold was to come from humans, from the hair? But what if the gold is something more precious than gold? Something that extends the lives of the dark practitioners of the shadowy cabals even today, seeking of adrenochrome, seeking of substances within human blood. And the scriptures declare the life is in the blood. And there's nothing more precious than gold, ladies and gentlemen, than the extension of life. Maybe we need, or maybe we are served better if we begin to think about the story of the Anunnakis and the writing of the Anunnaki, the way we tend to think of the writing of the Old Testament and the New Testament, that it's encrypted, that it's encoded. Maybe I'm just crazy and they really were here to mine gold out of the dirt. Maybe I'm wrong. But there sure seems to be a lot of interest in a rather insignificant species on a rather insignificant planet, us here on Earth, by all these other races. Why are they so interested in us? Oh, it's because of our souls. It's because of our spirit. It's because of that spiritual thing that we have. Well, maybe, and I'm not poo-pooing that, but maybe it's because we've got something in our blood that can help them, those that know how to harvest it and use it, live forever. And by the way, if it can be done by nefarious purposes, if adrenochrome can be activated by nefarious purposes, and if it can extend life via nefarious purposes, then there is a, for lack of a better term, sanctified way to do it as well. How do we activate our own adrenochrome? How do we extend and improve our own lives? That's a story for another podcast, isn't it? Very, very interesting, my friends. The gold of the Anunnaki. Is it us? Or were they after something more precious than gold? Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you unindoctrinate yourself. This is how you create yourself. This is how you ask questions and question answers. This is how you do the inside job, ladies and gentlemen. Love and light to you all. We are the last generation of real humans. Let's learn who we are. Let's learn what we are. And let's expand our paradigms and look beyond the standard and accepted teachings in the hope of finding even more knowledge. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, reminding you that we are the last generation of real humans and encouraging you, let's get busy.